Hello, everyone. It's Lindsey, and today I'm back with another Project Life spread in my album here. I'm working on week 2, and I'm still working with the Krystal Collection from Felicity Jane. This was the January collection. Hands down, my favorite one they've ever done, and I'm using up every last little bit of it that I can. So I pulled out some of the wood veneer pieces, some of the chipboard pieces, and I'll be incorporating those in my layout. Now, I had a couple tips for streamlining your Project Life albums. This photo here, I sometimes share things on my Instagram stories, and I use a variety of different apps to kind of design photos and journaling and things like that. And so rather than printing out those photos again and, resizing them and things like that, I just went ahead and took that I had shared in my stories and printed that as a photo. So it's got the date on there. It's got a couple photos and a little bit of journaling I did. And that way that's going to act as a 3x4 card. And it's great if you don't have pocket pages that have a ton of space for photos. This is a great way to have more than just, a 3x4 photo. So that's one thing. I also want to say thank you to those of you who popped into the comments of my last Project Life video and shared with me how to use the Project Life app and change the rounded corners to square corners. I guess if you tap in the right-hand corner, it changes it to square corners. So thank you for that. So now I have 90-degree angles instead of rounded corners, which I prefer. I've got a few different of the papers and journaling cards from the Krystal Collection. This piece here was actually fussy cut from one of the patterned papers. I love the florals this month, and so I definitely wanted to incorporate some of those in the layout. And my photos I edit in Lightroom, and there's a ton of different presets that you can find on Etsy. And so I found some that had this warmer setting to them that matches the colors of the Krystal Collection. So I love that it kind of just makes everything cohesive. So I've got some stamp sets, some dies, lots of different things pulled out to put together this simple layout. So let me go ahead and put you guys on fast forward, and we'll put together week 2 of my Project Life album.
Okay, so I'm going to start with this striped journaling card, and we are going to dress it up with all kinds of die cuts and things. So I'm starting out by taking a little scrap of the solid paper and putting it down at the bottom, and I'm going to create a little scene with these house die cuts. So I'm just using that gray blue paper to kind of anchor my houses. I knew if I didn't use them for something like this, I would just end up hoarding them. So I thought I need to get as many of them onto this card as possible. So I'm putting the big one up on some foam adhesive, and then I'll kind of tuck the other ones behind it and then mix in the wood veneer pieces as well. So lots of texture and dimension. I did struggle a little bit to get this card to fit in my pocket. If you have that happen, you can cut, just like shave an edge off of your card, and that will help it fit into your page protector pockets if you've got a lot of dimension on your card. Now I'm going to stick on the wood veneer pieces. I do use liquid adhesive. That seems to be the best way to adhere those. I will have everything linked down below for you guys, including the printer that I use, the photo paper that I use, all the goodness will be linked down below. It does look like most of the products from the Krystal Collection are still available in the Felicity Jane shop, so those will be linked down below as well. And there was only 2 wood pieces on here, so I'm adding this small wood heart to the front of this house. I like to work in odd numbers, 3s, 5s, things like that. And then I made my own thickers, basically. So I adhered some craft foam to the back of the pink paper and then ran that through my die cutting machine with the Reagan dies. And so now I have these dimensional alphas, and I like to die cut them out first and then add the coordinating stamp to them. For the stamp ink, I'm using Moonlit Fog from Gina K. This is one of the colors that I color matched to the collection this month. I always have those color swatches over on my blog, so be sure to check that out. But this project will be over on the Felicity Jane blog, where you can see more close-up photos. I'm going to mix my title with the outline stamp. I think the stamp had been in the shop for a while. I just recently ordered it. I love an open font like this because you can leave it just as is, or you could go in and add details. You could stamp it on pattern paper and then fussy cut them out. These open fonts are really versatile when you're using them with projects like this. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and start sticking everything down at the top, and this will be for my week card. I typically add the date to my week card, but I didn't really have space for that on this card. So I'm not going to worry about that with my album this year. As long as I periodically pop in and get the dates on my spreads, that's going to be good enough for me. I'm not too worried about having specific dates. I'm trying to streamline and simplify this as much as possible. This is my 3rd year attempting Project Life, and I did not complete it all the way through the last 2 years. So I'm hoping by doing the smaller 6x8 layouts, and keeping things a little bit simpler, I'll be able to stick with it. So this large 4x6 photo, I've been doing this for a couple years now. We try to take a family photo every Sunday on the way out the door to church. I got my makeup done. We're all dressed nice. And it just seems like a good time to get a photo. And so it's kind of neat to see over the years, as the boys grow up and just, things change and the weather changes and all of that you can see through those weekly photos. So this is my Sunday selfie. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Krystal alphabet stickers to spell out Sunday on here. And again, I'm just trying to use up my scraps and little bits and pieces of the papers that I have left. And then I'll add one of the die cut hearts and one of the wood veneer. I'm trying to bounce that wood veneer across my layout. So I've got them in that week card. I'm adding a little bit to this card here, and then I'll put a wood veneer heart over on the opposite side of the layout. And that's just something style-wise I like to do when I'm using certain textures and things like that. I like to kind of keep your eye bouncing around and balance things out that way. All right, for the right-hand side here, we have this home card. Now, one thing I love about the Felicity Jane cards is that you can use them as is. That home card, you could just stick it in there and be good to go. Or you can dress them up since they have a little bit of open space on there. So I added one of the paper clips, another wood veneer heart, and then this chipboard piece there that says don't overthink it. And that completed that card. And then here I have my journaling. I know it's hard to see in person. I can see it. I think I need to switch out the ribbon on my typewriter. And you don't need to hear me whining about stay-at-home orders anymore. That's what I was writing in the story here. We realized my kids have almost been home for a year at this point, not in school. And we are just kind of over it. So we're trying to get outside as often as we can, exploring, the acreage in the backyard. We have this photo up there of the boys riding their bikes. We've been trying to take walks in our neighborhood, but I'm quite frankly over it. I used a scallop circle punch to punch out some of that wood grain paper, and then I'm going to add this little home stamp from the Krystal Collection. There was lots of phrases and sentiments that are perfect for all of our photos from our stay-at-home orders, right? We're spending a lot more time at home. And so this stamp set had a variety of phrases and sentiments and things that would go along with those photos that you might be documenting from your stay-at-home time. So just going to add that to the top of my journaling there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some stamping to this photo here. Now, I did not intentionally take this photo this way, but there is this open space in the road on the left-hand side. And so I thought it'd be fun to do some stamping. I'm going to use my stamp positioning tool. It never fails. I always mess up when I'm stamping on photo paper. It's sticky, it grabs a hold of the stamp, but then when you're using a stamp block, it can be a little slippery. And so I just found it easier to use a stamp positioning tool. That way, if I don't get a good impression, which I didn't, it was a little bit faint on the one side, I can just keep it loaded up in there and then re-stamp it a second time and get a nice clean impression on that photo paper. So there is a look at week 2 in my Project Life album. If you want to see more close-up photos and information about this project, head on over to the Felicity Jane blog. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used today. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.